Rugby World Rankings are out after the resumption of international play. Let's have a look and see how the teams are sitting as of, what's the date today? 20th of July. Um, yeah, I haven't gone through the kind of week by week rankings as the kind of results played out. It doesn't help that teams like France and Australia played each other twice in a single week with that hectic schedule. But anyway, we'll have a look at before the game started for the start of July. So 1st of July through till now, how are teams tracking? There are a few teams kind of on the up and down. And yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts on how fair or not you think these rankings sit. Now, South Africa are still first, 94.7. They have played one test match after a long absence of that Rugby World Cup final. They've played Georgia. That test match with the difference in the sides on the rankings didn't do anything for South Africa's margin or Georgia's. It was just kind of steady as she goes. South Africa got an expected victory. They didn't gain any rankings points because the gap between the two sides is too great. Obviously, the South Africa A results don't count for nothing. And the British and Irish Lions games, in terms of this log, ain't going to do nothing either, because it's a test match, but it's like a barbars match in that it's not a team on the board, so you can't take points from anybody. There's no points exchange. So, yeah, it's not like a barbars match in that it is a test, but it is like a barbars match in that there's no world ranking points change. So there you go. South Africa back in action, still first in the world. New Zealand have had pretty comfortable victories over Fiji and Tonga, but again, no points change on the points exchange because of the gap between the sides. England are in 3. They beat the USA and Canada, and like New Zealand also, and Georgia against the Springboks, no changes. So 1, 2, and 3 still steady as she goes, no changes. Ireland are still in 4 on 84.85, but they did actually go up marginally with their victory over Japan. They're up from 84.69 to 84.85, so it's a very marginal shift. But with that victory over Japan, they did actually get some points on the exchange. So they are in a better position than they were on the 1st of July. France and Australia is kind of an interesting one. Like, you might think Australia should be higher than France because they just beat them in that test series. And if you followed it week by week, Australia did pass France after that first win. And then France retook their spot after their win. And then Australia narrowed the gap after the third win, but it wasn't enough to go past France again. Remember, in terms of the points exchange with the Rugby World Rankings, I've done a video. I never go into the absolute mathematical formula because of that. It would bore me to tears. But basically, all you need to know is the home side is kind of handicapped a little bit, or there's a boost to the away side. So an away win on the world rankings is worth more than a home win, and a big win is worth more than a small win. The results between these two teams were pretty slight, but you should know that at 2 wins, Australia has closed the gap. Australia has gone up, and France did go down a little bit, but they kind of swap back and forth. So France went into this in 5th. They still come out on 5th, but they were on 84.27. They're now on 83.87. So they have dropped, even if it doesn't look like it on the log. Australia were in 7th. They were on 83.08. They're now on 83.48. So they have closed the gap. So they have gotten a benefit from winning 2 out of those 3 games, but still not quite enough to take France's 5th spot. Argentina is also another big winner. They are on 83.15. They were on 80.31. So it's a big gain for Argentina to win away. I know technically it was a home game for Argentina because this time of year they should be playing in the Southern Hemisphere, but I guess common sense prevailed in that it was still registered as a home victory. Away win for Argentina. But it must burn a little bit for Welsh fans because you essentially lost to a virtually full-strength Pumas team with a bunch of your guys out with the British and Irish Lions. So it's a weird one. I'm not sure how they could better plan this time of year because it doesn't seem quite right. Like, England under strength against Canada and the USA kind of makes sense. Likewise, the planned Scotland-Romania game that got cancelled. Argentina against Romania, maybe Argentina should be playing Japan because those would be two kind of similarly ranked teams that should be at full strength. Maybe Argentina should be playing Fiji. I mean, if we could get those teams into the Rugby Championship like Japan and Fiji, it wouldn't make a difference. But yeah, it does seem weird a little bit. I mean, I'm sure Wayne Pivac, almost called him Warren Pivac, will be happy to have his guys blooded up against a proper classy Pumas outfit, and maybe he couldn't care less about his world ranking because there's no trophy for being ninth or first or second or whatever. But yeah, it just seems a bit bizarre, doesn't it? Otherwise, Scotland, no changes on 82.02. Remember, they had games called off with COVID cases. Wales, as I mentioned, the big losers with that draw and then lost to the Pumas, so they drop. They were in 6th. Now they're all the way down at 9th. So, yeah, costly in terms of their world rankings if you care about that kind of thing. Japan, no change in their position, but as I said, they did lose a little bit with their loss to Ireland, down from 79.29 to 79.13. And then Fiji, no change. Georgia, no change. Samoa is a winner. Their 2 matches over Tonga has seen them leapfrog Tonga. And Italy, without playing a game, it seems to be the best way to go. Without playing a game, Italy manages to jump up the rankings, largely because Tonga drop points to Samoa. So Tonga is down off my board, but they're down in 15th. USA 16th, Uruguay 17th, Romania 18th, Portugal is up into 19th, Spain is down into 20th, Hong Kong, Canada up 21 and 22 respectively, Russia down in 23. So yeah, like I mentioned, it's a weird time to be looking at the Rugby World Rankings at the moment because of the British and Irish Lions. It's kind of hard to say with those 4 participating countries, with the British and Irish Lions, like how strong or weak their teams should have been. But as we saw, Ireland, without their British and Irish Lions, still managed to beat a pretty much full-strength Japanese team. But I suppose there could be better planning. I guess with COVID, man, we're just lucky to have as many games as we did. Very few of them got called off. We were still pretty blessed with a bunch of rugby in the month of July. The British and Irish Lions tour is still to go, so it's not over yet. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. How fairly or not do you think these rankings are? Obviously, France also didn't send their strongest team to Australia, so maybe is it still fair that they are above Australia? Remember, the World Rugby Rankings don't care what team you send. They don't care if your British and Irish Lions are out. They don't care if you send a B or C team. All they care about is the win and the loss. But anyway, you guys take care of yourselves. Can you see South Africa retaining their top spot in the Rugby Championship? Maybe that's a question. We still need to see them play a few more games first. But anyway, you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.